How's it going, everybody? My name's Dave Whipple and you're watching Bush Radical. If you've watched this channel for any amount of time, you've probably seen a few different knife reviews, but you've never seen one on a Mora. That's because I've never owned a Mora before. Today, something new for the channel. I'm going to be doing a kind of a review, my thoughts on 3 different Moras. The Bushcraft Black, the Mora Companion, and the Mora Eldress. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you a 4th knife that's completely different that I also want to share with you. Stay tuned. Now, these knives were sent to us by Ken and Judy Chan from Gibbons, Alberta. Ken and Judy have been huge supporters of both my channel and Girl in the Woods. Just great people and big fans of Mora knives. This spring I stopped in and was talking with Ken. He was kind of giving me his thoughts on them. And this summer we got this package with a whole bunch of Mora knives in it. 2 Eldresses, one for each of our kids, and a Mora Companion and a Mora Bushcraft Black. I just want to take a minute and kind of tell you guys my impressions of all of these knives. So if you've thought about buying one, if you're kind of new to Moras like I am, this is kind of a Mora newbie's first impressions. For starters, let's take a look at the Mora Companion. I love the case. You know, this Dayglow green, you're not going to lose this. And this case is incredibly simplistic. It's just plastic. It's got kind of a click fit, kind of like that. Now, I've been using this guy most of the summer, and I have to say this is a knife that would be very difficult to improve on. For starters, this knife is incredibly simple. It's incredibly robust for the fact it just has a solid plastic handle with kind of a rubberized outer coating. You know, I wouldn't beat this through a piece of wood, but I wouldn't beat most of my knives through a piece of wood. The thing that I love about this knife, and I love about all of these Moras, is right there. Let me show you. The cutting edge goes all the way right into the handle. It doesn't stop short of the handle. It doesn't stop at the handle. It is razor sharp right up to that transition point where the blade itself meets the plastic handle. That makes me so happy because I love working really close to my hand. I don't want I guess they call it a ricasso, this area where there's nothing before the blade starts. I don't like ricassos at all. If I'm using the right term, I don't like a ricasso at all. I want that cutting edge. I want it to go right up to my finger without actually cutting my finger. And this knife is totally giving me exactly what I want there. That blade goes all the way into the handle and it's razor sharp all the way. So you can get as close with this knife as you can with any knife. The fact that you can get right up to the handle and you still have that cutting edge right there at the handle. Wish in a way that every knife manufacturer did that. I don't see any reason why there should be any space here where there's no cutting edge. The only downside to this knife is the spine is really dull. It's very rounded. It's got no bite to it, so if you want to use it to scrape any kind of material. You know, I always generally think of knives as like 2 blades. You got a cutting blade and then you've got like a cabinet scraper on the back. If you want to scrape wood, you want to scrape some kind of material you're planning on lighting on fire. You know, of course, Moras they're very popular in the survival world. You're going to want that back sharp, at least a nice true 90 like an ice skate, and this one is not. And they don't come that way, but that's not a problem. Take that sucker to your belt grinder, chuck it in a vise and use a file on it. Put a nice hard 90 on the back of that. This knife, though, in my opinion, is darn close to perfect. I'd take this knife anywhere. I'd be happy with this knife. For the money, I don't think you can do better than that knife. Now let's take a look at the Bushcraft Black. This is a really cool package because you have a good solid plastic sheath. It's got a drain hole. Actually comes with like a diamond type sharpening stone. Not sure if it's actual diamond, but it's molded right into the handle. You're not going to lose it. Cool feature. Comes with this nice ferro rod. This ferro rod is actually quite beefy, quite solid. It's got a good handle. It's a good rod. There's nothing at all wrong with this ferro rod. Now the knife itself, it's not a full tang knife. I believe it's a 2/3 tang. The spine of the knife is supposed to be 3.2 millimeters. I don't generally care about specs. They don't really, they're not exciting. What's exciting to me is what it feels like, how it works. And this knife feels very good in hand. It's very solid feeling. There's a warmth to the rubber in this handle because the entire handle is more of a rubber handle. So it's very comfortable. The thing I would say though is Mora is very famous for stainless steel. They have a lot of knives that probably go out, you know, with commercial fishing fleets, salt water. They don't rust. This is actually a carbon steel blade, and they have this black coating on there to keep it from rusting. And you can see that this knife has done plenty of rusting just working around the house. This is a knife you're going to have to baby if you want to keep it from rusting, or you're going to have to be ready to clean it quite a bit. It's held a wonderful edge all summer. It's been a good knife. The spine on this knife is very, very sharp. So for the camping, for the outdoor crowd that wants a good sharp spine on their knife, for their ferro rod, for making tinder, this Mora comes with a nice sharp spine. I don't know that I would pick the Bushcraft Black over the Companion, except for the fact that it comes with a fire steel that hooks onto the sheath, very secure. It also has a sharpening stone on the sheath, which is very secure. So you've kind of got the whole package with the Bushcraft Black. Other than that, I'm not a guy that batons his knives, so I don't know where you're going to gain any value by having a thicker, heavier Mora. This one also has a cutting edge that goes all the way into the handle, which is a thing of beauty. I absolutely love that. Truthfully, I don't see any benefit with Mora using a carbon steel for anything. You're introducing a rust problem that Mora doesn't need, because Mora does stainless steel knives. They do stainless steel knives very well. They're very famous for it. Why they would choose to make a carbon steel knife is kind of beyond me. I don't know why they couldn't make a thicker stainless steel knife. I think one of the reasons is, you know, there's this perpetuated idea that you can start a fire with a carbon steel knife and a stone by producing sparks. Well, it's going to take ideal conditions to do that without tinder cloth, and I mean, then it's a stretch to think you're going to have tinder cloth and you're not going to have a lighter. I don't know that it needs to be carbon steel, but the knife design itself, it's very ergonomic. It feels very sturdy. Now the fire steel is absolutely killer. Great knife, I love it. I wish it was stainless, considering that it's a Mora. Love the fact it's got a good sharp spine. Love the handle. Love the ferro rod, and especially, I especially love this case because it's kind of it's made to carry everything in a nice compact package. Hard to want more than that in a knife, having a way to start a fire, a way to keep your knife sharp. So my thoughts are kind of a mixed bag on it. Love the package, love the sheath, I love the knife, I love the way it feels. I probably wish it wasn't carbon steel. Not that I don't love a carbon steel knife, I just don't know why Mora would make one and introduce a problem that they didn't have before on their stainless knives. But fantastic knife, love it. This guy is cool. This is the Mora Eldress, and the Mora Eldress has two different grinds. It's got a nice shallow Scandi on it, and then it's got this Scandi with like a secondary, I suppose it's a secondary Scandi too, because I think it's a flat grind, but it thins out this blade. And the thing that's cool about this is just a knife. It's just it's a cutting tool. It doesn't do anything fancy. It does fit a full-sized hand, and it doesn't feel weird holding on to it. I think these are about 32 bucks, which seems a little spendy for a knife like this, when you could get the Companion for half that price. But on the other hand, there's just something kind of enjoyable about using this knife. It's incredibly practical. This doesn't have a blade that would make you want to try to do things with it that it's not designed to do. Anybody batoning wood with one of these things is probably doing the wrong thing because it's just a small utility type knife. But for what it's actually for whittling, for cutting rope, I mean, it's all the blade you'd ever need. I don't know what the blade is on this thing, maybe 2 1/4 inches. Once again, is that beautiful Mora design feature where the blade goes right into the handle and you can use that sharp edge right next to your hand. That's as much control as you're ever going to get from a knife. You'll never do better than that. I mean, it's right there. Overall, I love the Eldress. I don't know that I would pay double for it what the cost of a Mora Companion would be. This is just kind of a fun knife to use. It is limited for the fact that it's just so small. If you had to clean a pike with this, you could clean a pike with a Companion just fine. This knife is just too short to clean pike with. I mean, you could do it. It's not the right tool for the job. It's going to be a fight. It's not going to perform like a knife that's got a 5-inch blade on it. So I mean, this knife is limited, but it's kind of a joy to use. It's a joy to hang on to. It's very practical, very utilitarian. I think it's a little overpriced for what it is, but it's a cool knife. So there's my thoughts on 3 different Moras: the Mora Companion, the Mora Bushcraft Black, and the Mora Eldress. And that's from a Mora newbie, a guy that has had Moras for about 3 months now. I really don't have a bad thing to say about him other than the thoughts I've already passed on. The Companion, wonderful utilitarian knife, has a dull spine, but it's stainless steel. Bushcraft Black, I'm not exactly sure how much this knife is supposed to cost. It's probably a little, I think it's like a $60 knife. So it's probably, in my opinion, it's probably a little more expensive than it needs to be. I don't know why it's carbon steel. Mora is so famous for stainless. I don't believe it needs to be carbon steel. But on the other hand, I love the ergonomics of the handle. I love the total package design of the sheath. If it is a $60 knife, or even a $50 knife, it's probably just a touch overpriced compared to the Companion. And the Eldress, fun to use, fun to hang on to. Made by a great company with great materials, probably also a touch expensive in light of the Companion, which I think is every bit the knife the Eldress is at half the price. Although, to be totally fair, the Eldress has a razor sharp spine. So using this for its scraping capabilities with the back of the blade, the Eldress is ready to go. Now, the one thing that all 3 of these knives have in common, they have this wonderful tip geometry. They come out of the package with a needle sharp tip. I find in a camping situation that a knife with a very fine tip comes in very, very handy. I love the point on all 3 of these Mora knives. All right, I got one more knife I want to show you guys, and it's this one. This knife was sent to me by Brad Richardson at Tymberlee Tool and Trade. Check that dude out. Now, if you've seen Alone Season 4 or Alone Season 5, you know who Brad Richardson is. Brad and his brother and his sister have a company called Tymberlee Tool and Trade, and they make fantastic knives. And they have a few other products, but the knives are really their main product. And Brad sent me this knife earlier this summer as a gift. And it's been a fantastic knife. So I just wanted to say thanks to Brad and to kind of show off the kind of craftsmanship that goes into one of these Tymberlee knives. Kind of an old school, simple handle design. It does have a bit of a swell to it. I don't know if you can see that, but right in this area it does swell and it does taper on the ends. Now that hammer finished look is I think a very, very interesting touch. Now this thing came super sharp. It's just a wonderful, wonderful sheath here too. This is probably of every sheath I own, of every knife I own, this is probably the thickest leather. Like, I don't even know where Brad got this stuff. It is, you know, there's my thumb and there's 3 pieces of this leather. The welt on this sheath, the 3 pieces that make up the welt, they're 5/8 of an inch across. It's just an amazingly heavy leather, super cool knife, one of a kind. You just don't, I've never seen a knife anything like this. I just wanted to give a shout out to Brad and say thank you. I have so enjoyed this knife. And if you're interested in any of the Tymberlee tool and trade knives, click the link below and check out TymberleeUSA.com, and you can see what's available over there at Brad's site. So thank you guys for hanging out with me for this giant knife review. I've had these knives for months and I've been meaning to get to a review. I want to say thanks to Brad Richardson at Tymberlee Tool and Trade. That's TymberleeUSA.com. And I want to say special thanks to Ken and Judy Chan out in Gibbons, Alberta, for sending us these Moras, among other things they've sent. They've been huge supporters of Girl in the Woods and Bush Radical. Thank you guys so much. Totally enjoyed the knives, and Mora has a new fan thanks to you. I really appreciate what Mora does as a company, the knives they deliver, and kind of the thought behind the knives. They're very utilitarian knives, very much a knife that's made to be used, and I really appreciate that. And thank you so much, Ken. Thank you so much, Judy. Love the Mora knives. I'm glad you turned me on to them, and thank you for sending them. One more thing to announce. A couple spots are filled up on the October 20th bow drill fire class. Few spots remaining. If you haven't signed up yet and you want to attend the class, it's going to be right here in Michigan. October 20th, 2018. It's going to be from 10 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Pop on over to bushradical.com and go to the events page, and you can register for Bow Drill 101. The only thing we're going to focus on is friction fire with a bow drill set. I want everybody that attends this class to be able to leave having started friction fire. And if you want to sign up for that class and you haven't yet, there's a few spots available. Pop on over and sign up. If you like this video, don't forget to share, subscribe, and hit the little bell to get updates. Thank you so much for watching Bush Radical. My name's Dave Whipple. Be radical, eh? See you soon.